Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about what I watched in March and what I thought of everything, and if I rewatch or anything, sort of a Letterboxd review like I've done before. So, TV show wise, the main thing I watched during March was Midnight Mass, so that's the Mike Flanagan series on Netflix. I tried to watch this when it came out and I got like 2 episodes into it, couldn't deal with it and decided I'd come back to it another time. And I decided to come back to it partly because I just listened, I'm really behind on podcasts, I just listened to the Evolution of Horror podcast on Midnight Mass and Doctor Sleep, and I also was going to Italy, so I rewatched it while I was in Italy. I was going to a lot of churches, a lot of monasteries, that sort of thing, and I really was interested to see the tie into the religion. And I really enjoyed it. Once I got into it, it still took me like a good 2 episodes to get into it. And I was like, I'm going to watch it this time, I'm going to get through it. But once I was into it, I was really into it. I think Mike Flanagan does a really good job with very human, very real characters. I think that's really where his strength lies. And I really loved this take on the mythology of the angel and everything. I think he's got some fantastic actors that he works with over and over again. I really liked Rahul Kohli in this as well, and I can't remember the young lad's name who plays his son, but I think he's really good and I'd love to see him in more stuff. I really just want to go back and rewatch a load of Mike Flanagan's filmography now, because I really liked Blind Manor, which I've rewatched before. I really loved Oculus. I really need to rewatch Hill House, I think, because Hill House, you seem to either love Hill House or Blind Manor, and I'm a Blind Manor person, but I am going to give Hill House another rewatch, I think, now. So I did go to the Glasgow Film Festival, but I'm not going to talk about this here. I'm actually going to have, I think it's probably already up, but I did write a blog about what I saw at the Glasgow Film Festival, and I will link it in the description if you want to know what I saw and what I thought of it. So that will be available. The first film I watched was Nocebo, which is on Netflix. I gave this 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars. I wanted to see it when it was in the cinema. We were playing it where I work, but I missed it. It was only out for like a week, which I thought was strange at the time, but Netflix does do this. They did it with Glass Onion. They'll release something for like a week and then it'll go exclusively onto streaming. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good take on this kind of like haunted narrative. It's very topical. It was really interesting, really like a deep narrative to get into. I did just kind of lose, I didn't feel really for the main character at any point, which kind of makes what happens to her less impactful in a way. I think you have to really care about, a bit like how you really care for Christine in Drag Me to Hell. But I enjoyed it. I definitely rewatch it. The next film I watched was Sweat, which was on Mubi. It's not on Mubi anymore. I watched it because I got an alert that it was leaving in 5 days. And I rated it 4 out of 5. So it's a look at fitness influencer culture. We follow this fitness influencer who is being stalked, and it's all about her life and struggles to maintain her public persona. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and I really wanted to have a wider release on something such as like Amazon Prime or Netflix or Sky Cinema or All 4 or something, so it's got a bigger range to a lot of people, because I think it's not only a really good look at influencing and social media and how that affects our lives, but also how that affects us like personally and our emotions. I really enjoyed it. It's very watchable. If you do get a chance to see it, I would definitely recommend it. The next one I watched was Fall, which is the 2022 film, and I gave that 3.5 stars. I've got my phone down here that I'm checking my ratings and everything on. So I just watched this because it was on Netflix and I was just in the hostel one night, needed something to watch, and you know, it's a popcorn movie, isn't it? But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I really bought into the characters and their relationships and the situations, what doing. I mean, I never would have put myself in that position. I physically cannot climb. so it didn't really scare me that much, but I thought it was a really good thriller. I definitely rewatch this. I think it'd be cool to watch this with people as well to see their reactions. The next film I watched, this was also on Netflix, and that was Misha and the Wolves from 2021, which is a documentary. I gave that 3 stars as well. It just didn't seem like it could be real with the plot. The plot is about this woman who survived the Holocaust, writes a memoir, and then I can't remember exactly what happened because it's been a very long month, but something falls through with the memoir and the publishing, so she sues the publisher, and the publisher then finds out that her entire story is false. I thought it was interesting, but I thought it was over long, and I could have done with it being a good 20-30 minutes shorter to stay engaged with it. And it's not even that long. It just felt like, for a story that has so many twists and turns, the documentary felt over long and wasn't as engaging as it should have been. But I'm not disappointed I watched it. I do quite like documentaries. I was like, at the beginning of it, I was quite engaged. It started to lose me towards the end. At this point, I ended up doing a load of rewatches because I went and stayed with my cousin for a while, and we just watched a load of films that we've all seen before. So first 2 rewatches we did were Paddington 1 and Paddington 2. I love these films. I think they are perfect films. I rated them both 5 stars, even though I would say that the second film is better. They're just fun and over the top and colourful and bright, and even though they're just comforting. They're comfort films, you know. I mean, if you haven't seen them, I would definitely recommend them both, for adults as well as children. So if you have like children that you want to show a film, show them Paddington so you can watch it at the same time, you know, and then you don't feel guilty. The next one I watched was Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which I think is a British classic. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoy this film. I love the claymation animation. It's very nostalgic for me because I grew up watching Wallace and Gromit and Aardman animations. I just really enjoy it. I'd recommend that as well. The film that we watched was Moana. 5 stars, obviously. A classic. Apparently they're going to be doing a live action remake, but the film, what year was it made? 26. It's not even 10 years old. It's not even like, it doesn't need a live action remake. Just leave it alone. We also watched Frozen while I was there, the first Frozen, which I give 3.5 out of 5. I really liked it when it came out. I like it less now. I think just because Disney have made significantly better films that have come out, such as Moana, and so it kind of dulls Frozen a bit. Although that reveal, like, every time I know it's coming, and I'm like, oh, reveal with Hans. But yeah, it's still enjoyable. Enjoyable way to spend 2 hours. We also rewatched The King's Speech, which I haven't seen since I was in university. I gave this one 4 stars. I forgot how good this film is. It's got a very good cast. Helena Bonham Carter and Colin Firth, obviously. But just, there's not a bad performance in the film. And it's very subtle in the way that it works, like cinematography, music, mise en scène. But it's very enjoyable. And obviously we never know exactly what would have happened between the characters, like the real life people, but it's a nice way to think that it's a nice, what am I trying to say? Obviously we're never going to know what sort of happened between all these real life people, but it's a nice recreation of what could have happened. Okay, we also then watched Addams Family Values, which is another 5-star film. I think it's better than the first film. I really enjoy this. It's just so fun, so over the top, so camp, so quotable, and Debbie is an icon. So what can you say? What can you say? 4 Weddings and a Funeral, which I gave 2 stars out of 5. And thinking about it, I should have given it lower because I cannot stand that film. I think they're all terrible people. I think primarily Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell's characters, terrible people. Awful. They treat their respective others awfully, and their friends. The only character I like dies. Like I'm not a big rom-com fan at the best of times, but if I had to pick a Hugh Grant rom-com, I'd always go for Notting Hill. I would not go for this again. I hate this film. Then went to go and see Scream 6. It keeps throwing me off because I keep thinking it should be Scream 5, because Scream 4 just throws me off because it's just out there by itself. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 out of 5, and I think it's better than Scream 5. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more, and I felt like I understood some of my issues with Scream 5 a bit more having watched Scream 6. I really hope there's a Scream 7. I'm pretty sure there's going to be. It's made so much money, it's done so well. But I cannot wait for the next one. And it was only like done in like 14 months as well. So really well done, I think. And the fact that it's in New York, I don't think takes away from it at all. I heard a lot of people saying that, but I really don't think it does at all. I rewatched Life before I went away to Italy. I gave that 3 stars. That's the horror film set in space with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. I still quite like this film. I think it's got a lot of good like scenes. There's some scenes that really like stick in your mind. I don't think it's the best acted. But that ending is such a fantastic twist ending. I love it so much. I also rewatched The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I love the Princess Diary films. They're not anything like the books, but they're just nostalgic comfort films for me, and I really like this one. I really like the fact you get to see more of her life in Genovia and more of the country. I would like to have seen like more of it. And I mean, the love story really doesn't matter that much to me, but I really enjoy I just enjoy the whole growth of the character into the Queen at the end. I rewatched Miss Americana, which is on Netflix, the Taylor Swift documentary. I gave that 3.5 stars out of 5. I watched it for the first time during one of the lockdowns, and I really enjoyed it then. I enjoyed it less now. I only really watched it because the Eras tour started and I was getting loads of it on my TikTok, and I had a bit of FOMO because obviously I'm in the UK and she has not released international dates. It was an alright documentary. I remember it was longer than I remembered it being and less engaging than I remembered it being. But that being said, I'd love to see a documentary about the Eras tour and how she came up with, and her team obviously came up with, all the ideas that seem to be in it. I think that would be really interesting, like a documentary solely on the tour, like the behind the scenes, the costuming, the theming, all that I think would be fascinating. I also watched Oxygen, which is on Netflix. It's a 2021 film by Alejandro Arja, I believe. Alexandra Arja, sorry. Which, it was just something that I saw and downloaded so I could watch on a plane, and then I just watched it anyway, and I quite enjoyed it. It was quite a good I enjoyed it a lot more. I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. I found how the actress works in that short space just by herself. You don't really see you see her moving around, but obviously it's a confined space. I really enjoyed. I really loved the first 2 acts of the film. I didn't like the 3rd act at all. I didn't like the reveal. But to be honest, the twist wasn't what got me. I didn't like the ending. That really annoyed me. But I'd still recommend it. It's still a pretty good film. Last film I watched was Creep from 2014. It's also on Netflix. And I watched this because it is going to be featured in the Home Invasion series for Evolution of Horror's next series. And I gave it 3 stars again. It was creepier than I remembered it being, because I did see it like way back, like years ago. I just didn't like it as much. I didn't really identify with the main character, which I've said I don't think that if you don't care for like the main character, you almost don't care what's going to happen to them. I am going to watch the second one at some point. I just have to get around to it. So that was my sum up of what I watched in March. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.